The BRRRRS method is dead, right? Wrong. A lot of people are going to tell you the BRRRRS method is dead. That's just because they don't understand it. So this is the last part of my 5-part series where I am showing you that the BRRRRS method is not dead. We covered buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and now we are on to the systemize part of the BRRRRS method. So I took the old BRRRR method, changed it a few years ago and added the S, and now I changed it again to create a method that works for 2024. So if you're just joining or watching the recording, I would appreciate your interaction. It helps push this. So it's kind of weird to push the like button, or I guess no, we're all horizontal, so it's not as weird. So hit that like button if you are watching. I would appreciate that very much. Let me know where you're from in the chat section. Let's have that interaction. The more you interact, the more you get out of this. There have been studies done that if you interact and write things down or comment while you're watching something, you retain more of that information. So it not only benefits me and the algorithm, it also benefits you. All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk about systemizing your freedom, systemizing your financial freedom and your wealth through real estate. So I'm going to quickly cover what the BRRRRS method is, and then we're going to get into the systems section, and I'm going to show you how I have systemized wealth. I'm going to give you as much as I can for free here to allow you to actually, understand it enough to take action from just a YouTube video, which I think is pretty rare. So again, let me know where you're from in the chat box. Hit that like button, and if you want to comment the word new, we'll try to get you a free training sent your way as well. It's a brand new free training that I'm getting ready to actually X out of here. So that free training is getting ready to go away here probably later today or tomorrow. All right, so the BRRRRS method, for those that don't know, I'm going to quickly go over it. This is a great reminder. If not, I'm going to specifically focus on how to create systems around it so it's scalable, because the difference between a professional and an amateur is systems. The difference between a wannabe and a bee, get it, Shane? The difference between a wannabe and a bee is systems. Figuring it out and running around like a chicken with your head cut off can sometimes work, but it's not systemizable, it's not scalable, and it's not repeatable. So you need to insert systems if you want to grow and scale. That's how all companies work. I have the analogy of Chick-fil-A. Their systems are so good that high schoolers run Chick-fil-A's, and it's only because of their systems. Because honestly, the food isn't even that good. Just kidding, it's fine, but it's about their systems. They're the most profitable franchise, fast food franchise in the world, and they're not even open on Sundays because of systems. All right, let's talk about the BRRRRS method quickly. I'm just going to recoup it, and if you've heard it before, this will be a reminder for you. If you've never heard this before, this will change your life. I have used this method, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and systemize, to buy $50 million worth of real estate without using any of my own money. I started from zero, got to $50 million in the past 10 years, all on other people's dime because of this method. So this method really starts, and all real estate investing starts with two things: a distressed property and a private money lender or a lending source. And if you comment new and get that free training that's going away, in that training I cover how to find lenders and how to find distressed property. So get that covered, the BRRRRS method. So let's go over a real example. So let's say you can buy a distressed property for $150,000. Let's say it needs $40,000 worth of work. So you need $190,000 of somebody else's money to buy and fix up a distressed property. That's the beginning of the BRRRRS method. So you borrow $190,000 from a private lender, you buy a property, and then you repair a property using their money. So now this property is repaired. Look how happy this house is. It's a happy repaired house with a big old mouth. But this house is repaired and it's happy, and you didn't use any of your own money to make it happy and repair it. Again, double tap the screen or hit that like button if you can, and let me know where you're from in the chat box and ask questions. Got my boy Shane Gainer over here. He can point you in the right direction. So you're interacting, and if it's a really cool question, maybe he'll throw it my way and I'll answer it. So fill the chat box up with questions, hit that like button, and share this live with anybody that's interested in real estate. And if you're not watching the live version, still share this. I would appreciate it. All right, so we borrowed money to buy a house. We borrowed money to fix up a house. The next thing we do is get the property rented. And when I covered the rent step in the series that we're ending right now, I talked about how to rent it out on short-term, mid-term, long-term, Section 8, and market. So we covered all that. So you bought the house, you fixed up, you get it rented. Then you get it refinanced, okay? You go to a small local bank and they'll write you a check, and I know this is kind of quick, but I'm just wanting to get to the systemize, the reason you're here. So that you bought a property, fixed it up, got it rented. The bank will give you a loan for up to 80% of the appraised value. This is a real property It appraised for 250 grand, 252 grand, but let's keep it simple, 250 grand. So they wrote me a check for $200,000. Any guess what I did with the $200,000 check? I gave the bank a property, or I brought the bank into a property that was fixed up, that was rented, and they appraised it, and they wrote me a check for 80% of the appraised value. Any guesses what I did with that 200K? I took that $200,000 and I paid back my private lender. I actually paid him $8 grand, but let's again, math simple, 10 grand. Keep it simple. He made $10,000. His name is Steve, actually, and he wrote me a $190,000 check. I did some fancy footwork with it, and then I wrote him a check back for $200,000 about 95, 100 days later. So he made 10 grand in a quarter of a year without doing anything on a $190,000 investment. So he is paid off, he's made $10,000, and now he is happy. We have a happy house and a happy Steve. This is a win-win situation here, right? So he is happy, so he is paid off. Now, I do owe the bank $200,000, but I take the rent and pay them back every single month. And now we are on to the S, the systemize step. Are y'all with me? That makes sense. If it didn't, and you're watching the YouTube, you can go back and watch the recording. So we bought a house, fixed it up using somebody else's money, we got it rented, and then we got a loan from a bank to pay back our initial lender, and now we use rent to pay back the bank, and boom, now we own a house using none of our own money. This was a big lift. This is not something that happens easily or happens overnight. This requires a big lift. So if you want to do this at scale, which is required to create wealth, you're not going to create wealth with one property. You're going to be financially better off if you own one rental, but you're not going to create wealth just owning one rental. So if you want to do it at a higher level, you need to insert systems into the equation. Let me talk about where systems that are inserted into the equation really makes sense for this type of strategy, and I'm going to give you some systems the best I can. And again, hit that like button, comment new, and we'll try to get you that free training, especially if you're watching live. And that training talks about a lot of things and introduces you to my systems. That's the goal. You can create your own systems or you can use mine. The most efficient path is using somebody else's systems that have worked. So let's start with the buy step. If you can create systems around buying properties, you naturally will be able to buy more properties. Does that make sense? If you can create a system that pumps out leads and you're able to go from getting a lead a month to 10 leads a month, you are naturally going to buy more properties. So you need to create systems around lead flow. You need to create systems around raising funding. If you get a property under contract to purchase from your lead flow, 1 or 10, but you don't have the funding lined up and you have to scramble to a hard money lender or a private money lender or a line of credit or a 401k, or you're scrambling to get the money, you're going to not be able to do as much. But if you have 3 private money lenders lined up, 2 hard money lenders, you have some line of credits on your house or certain businesses, you're able to do more. So you need to create systems around finding properties and get a consistent lead flow, and then you need to create systems around funding the property, and then you also need to create systems around analyzing. Did I spell analyze right? I think I mixed the Z and the Y. Sorry. All right, so you know what I mean. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, so anyways, having systems around analyzing, you know how much time and money I ended up losing, but how much time I wasted when I was starting out, because people would be sending me all these properties and I would be very slow in analyzing because I would have to find all the comps, run the numbers, and do everything. It took me forever. So if you create systems and you have a rehab calculator and you have an entire tool to allow you to analyze 10 deals a week, you're going to buy more deals and put more offers out there. And then the last system is getting an avatar of what you want to actually buy. If you tell everybody you want to buy anything, you're going to buy nothing. But if you have a specific avatar and a buy box, is what we call it inside my community, if you have a defined buy box, you're going to know what to look for, you're going to know when it comes across your plate, and you're going to prioritize it, and you're going to buy more houses. So again, creating systems around lead flow, funding, analyzing deals, and getting an avatar will naturally allow you to do more. And if you do more deals, you make more money. Make sense? All right. Let's move on to the systems with the rehab step. Again, let me know where you're from. If you're not, hit that like button. Just like on the other social media platforms, you double tap and that really helps. But like Instagram or YouTube, just hitting that like button one time really, really helps. It means a lot more on YouTube for some reason. So if you would do that and you're watching, I would appreciate. How many people are watching? Probably not a ton. Yeah. 11. So we need 11 likes. Come on, let's get 11 likes on YouTube. All right, so here we go. So creating systems around rehabbing is a very, very important step. This one's huge. So creating like scope of works. This is huge. If you can create a scope of work and have a system to be able to communicate a scope of work to contractors, you will get more contractors that do better work, that do it faster. So again, a lot of these systems are heavy lift. That's why it separates the wannabes from the bees, and it separates the people that are, amateurs that do one deal every 2 years and the people that do two deals a month. It's all about systems and setting up things and putting in the work, which again, I have already done. $50 million worth, 1,200 deals later, we have the system to do all of this for you. So that is why people usually get that free training, typing new and get that free training, or look me up on Instagram, send me a message, and we get them into our system. So scope of work is huge. Imagine if you have a calculator and scope of work built out to, I need to do this to this section of the house, this is the order of the operations, this is how things flow, and this is how I communicate with my contractors. You're going to take a 6-month rehab and you're going to bring it down to 4 months or 3 months. Time is valuable. So that means you're able, if you want to do one at a time, you're able to go from doing 2 a year to doing maybe 4 a year. So it's all about doing more volume, and having a systemized scope of work will help. Getting the right contractors and having systems around communicating with the contractors is huge. You're not going to do all the work yourself. If you do, you're going to do one every 2 years, and you're going to get sick and tired of it. So hiring the right contractors and having systems around attracting them, knowing what to say to them, how to pay them, and how to communicate with them will attract the best of the best. And if you have a good roofer, a good sider, a good window, a guy or gal, a good landscaper, good painter, good flooring, good kitchens, good design, good everything, you're able to do a lot of projects quickly at high quality, quantity, and make a lot of money and either flip them or keep them as rentals and maximize. So having a scope of work, having contractors, and understanding the order of rehabs, because you can screw up by doing rehabs in the wrong order. So these are the types of systems that you're going to need to start to articulate and get on paper and save in like a Google Doc or an Excel file or something to be able to repeat this and do this at scale. So this is a huge part of this that can really, really help you. And again, we do it for you, or you can do it on your own. All good, whatever you want to do. All right. So the next part of the BRRRRs, if you're kind of just joining, we are talking about the BRRRRS method, and I'm talking about specifically the systemization part of the BRRRRS method, which is right here. We quickly went over the BRRRRS method. We talked about systems to buy, systems to rehab, and now we're going to talk about systems to rent. All right, so let's start with like the tenant base. I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but in today's market, this is the reason why this is the BRRRRS 2.0. You have short-term tenants you can rent to. You have mid-term tenants you can rent to. You have long-term tenants you can rent to. Then you have Section 8, and you have market rent. Now, it used to be just long-term and maybe Section 8, but now in today's market, with technology of today and with the real estate industry where it's moving, depending on the area and the house, doesn't work for every house, you're able to get short-term rentals. Like, if you rent something short-term, you're going to have more costs and more management, but you're going to be able to get about 3 times rent. If a house rents for $2,000 a month, long-term, you should get $6,000 a month, Section 8, or on short-term if it's in an area and qualifies. Or you can do midterm rentals, which are traveling nurses, corporate leases, those type of rentals. You can get 2 times the rent. Rents for $2,000 a month, you should be able to get about $4,000 a month. Or you can do the traditional long-term, which there's nothing wrong with that, and get 1 times the amount of rent. So just knowing that there's different tenant bases is part of the systems for rents, but then also getting a syndication system to syndicate, and when you shop your properties, it gets sent out to all the websites, not just Zillow and the MLS. If you get processes in place to push a button and then your property, your rental gets shopped to 30 different websites, you're going to get more eyeballs, you're going to get better tenants, and you're going to get better things in place. So having systems around renting and attracting tenants and communicating with tenants and having software, which we can introduce you to, software that is going to allow the credit checks to be done and the communication and the background checks all to be done by the click of a button. Again, we're looking at speed. Time is the only thing you can't get more of. So the point is to be able to do more in less time. That is the point of systems, and that's what we're creating for you, or you can create on your own. Making sense so far? All right, hit that. If you haven't hit the like button on YouTube, you should. All right, the last step is creating systems around the refinance. All right, creating systems around refinancing will allow you to do more. So it's developing relationships with the right small local banks. If you're running to Commerce Bank or Bank of America or not knowing what types of banks to use, you're not going to be able to grow and scale this at any level. You need to have the right banks with the right communication lines, with the right processes in place to allow you to get multiple bids to get the lowest rate possible. You want to get a low rate that allows you to cash flow, and you have relationships with multiple banks and communication lines with them. And then a big part of the BRRRRS method that people don't talk about very much is the appraisal. When you are getting your property on the refinance step, the bank's going to give you a loan for 80% of the appraised value. This appraised, sorry, my writing, for $250. How do you maximize that appraisal? Well, you have systems in place to do that because you can affect the appraised value by rehabbing the right way, but also by meeting the appraised. There's a little pro tip for you. Every single time I met the appraiser at the property, we got the number we needed. When I didn't meet the appraiser at the property, we probably got it about maybe 60, 70% of the time. So meeting the appraiser at the property and giving them some paperwork, and going over what you did to the property, a list of items, your scope of work, your receipts, your rehab, your ARV, they're going to come to their own conclusions, but they will 100% be influenced by you being there, shaking their hand, meeting them, being polite, and giving them some of the groundwork that they're going to have to do themselves, you do for them. So those are the types of next level things that, I mean, which we have somebody from our office meet the appraisers every time, meeting the appraisers at the property makes me hundreds of thousands of dollars a year over what I would have made by not meeting them. So those are the types of things that you learn when you do things at scale and systems. So this is how you systemize your wealth with the BRRRRS method. Again, there's nobody else is teaching this. People that don't understand this say the BRRRR's dead, but it's not if you know what you're doing and how to do it. Any fancy questions, or are we ready to rock?
All good.
All right, cool. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you very, very much. See you on the next one. Make sure to subscribe.